In the area of the village of Kostyantinivka in Donetsk region, the enemy launched an attack of 35 armored combat vehicles with ground forces supported by 9 tanks. During the battle, our soldiers destroyed 5 armored vehicles with ground forces. 28 occupiers were killed in this attack, another 22 were injured. Russian soldiers, who would participate in the war for the first time, lost their lives before they could even fight. This Russian vehicle was carrying ammunition, military supplies, and food. They were exactly what the soldiers needed. However, they were all blown up. The driver got out of the vehicle and ran away. The 60th Ombar repelled the assault of the occupiers east of Yampolovka. The enemy assault was carried out in 3 waves. The first stage was launched at night, in which 7 units of equipment participated, then other forces joined during the day. Just as the tank was about to open fire, a drone attack suddenly occurred and he was surprised at what happened. The tank caught fire and crashed on its own. Repelling a large assault with 46 units of equipment this morning in the Kharkiv direction. Incredible. The 46th Separate Air Assault Brigade destroyed 9 BMPs, 2 tanks, 2 APCs, and 2 motorcycles, and rendered 11 more BMPs inoperable. The remaining equipment fled the battlefield. First, the Ukrainians attacked the tanks, then they hunted down the soldiers who got off the tanks one by one. Russians are loading ammunition, first aid supplies, and food supplies into the vehicles. However, an attack they never expected took place. Vehicles were destroyed as a result of repeated drone and kamikaze attacks. Russian vehicles, which set out in the early hours of the morning, entered the radar of FPV drones, and 3 Russian vehicles were completely neutralized in the early hours of the morning. Wounded soldiers are looking for a place to hide. How a column of Russian invaders was destroyed near Kleshchievka. What do you think is the easiest way to destroy tanks? Write your opinion in the comments. Pilots of the 108th Territorial Defense Brigade successfully destroyed the Strela-10 Soviet anti-aircraft missile system, which allowed the enemy to hit air targets at low altitudes using an FPV drone. Border guards demolished 2 enemy observation posts in the Zaporizhia direction. Five Russian invaders decided to hide from a drone with a powerful warhead, Pokrovsky direction. Destruction of the Solntsepiok TOS of Podara. Target detection and correction from the wedding drone we purchased thanks to your help. I'm sorry, But these two poor Russian soldiers are trying to escape from the FPV drone. It is almost impossible to escape from FPV drone. By the way, how did these soldiers not shoot each other? Very interesting. The Russian soldier made a very smart move and saved his own life at the last moment. If a person has never flown a FPV drone, especially one equipped with ammunition, they will never understand how challenging it is. That's why such videos are really cool. Destruction of a line of Russian armored vehicles with artillery and FPV drones in the Pokrovsk direction. The enemy used 2 BMPs and a tank. The attempt was thwarted. The equipment was damaged. Ukrainian and Russian tanks faced each other. There were only trees among them. The Ukrainian tank made the first move and blew up the Russian tank. The Russian UR-77 mine-clearing vehicle was destroyed by a drone-dropped grenade. The work of the 79th Brigade. These two poor Russian soldiers have no idea what will happen to them next. After successful drops from the play, the paratroopers of the 79th ODS HBR forced the enemy to flee in disorder. The Russian tank, acting fearlessly alone, was attacked unexpectedly. Panicked with fear, tank quickly reversed and left the road. The seriously injured soldiers could not move, and with a massive attack, the tank was completely blown up. As I always say, if God does not help you, it is almost impossible to escape from FPV drones. Do you think the soldier was saved? The explosion of the Russian armored vehicle occurred from the first blow of the FPV throne of Ukrainian Marines. This is another proof of interesting solutions to Russian designers who installed a tank-caliber gun with an appropriate amount of ammunition for easily armored equipment. M142. HIMARS destroys a Russian Buk M3 SAM launcher in the Kursk region. Before the strike, the system's operators made an unsuccessful attempt to shoot down a Ukrainian Armed Forces reconnaissance UAV. Here is a Russian missile system for you. How many drones do you think would be needed to blow this up? 1, 3, 5. Only one drone can blow up a huge tank. Here's the proof. Russian soldiers who got off the tank to go to the toilet were almost dead. How effective do you think these drones are? The tank was just moving on its own path. And it happened. The tank that went to help wounded soldiers was attacked by a drone. The Russian vehicle was carrying Russian soldiers. The drone, coming from behind, attacked the vehicle. The second attack took place but was not accurate. The soldiers ran away after the vehicle stopped. The Russian tank carrying recruits who had just started the war was attacked. Many soldiers were seriously injured before they could even fight. Another Russian T-80 tank burned by the FPV drone operated by the Garuda 46 Brigade unit. Successful removal of a mine barrier by the crew of a Russian tank. This is the third time I've seen the Russians perform this anti-mine maneuver in the last week. The Steel Border operatives have successfully disabled yet another Eye of Sauron, deactivating an enemy long-range visual surveillance system known as Murom-M in the Kharkiv direction. Do you think Russian tanks are weak or drones are too strong? Be sure to write your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more tank explosion videos. Destruction of the Russian BMP-3, which was filled to the brim with ammo, kamikaze drone Pegas, manufactured by Eskadron in Mariinka. While a Russian vehicle was driving alone, as always, it was caught on the radar of Ukrainian FPV drone pilots, and they started FPV drone attacks one after the other without stopping. Maybe he thought he could hide in the woods, but he still couldn't escape the attack. As I always say, it is almost impossible to escape from FPV drones wherever you go. Eastern Front. Border aerial reconnaissance identifies enemy positions and corrects artillery fire. As a result, minus the Russian tank and ammunition explosion. Destruction of another enemy armored column during an attempt to storm the settlement of Zinkivska, Kupiansky direction. Coordinated work of soldiers from the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade and the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade. We spend a lot of time preparing these videos and sound effects. If you like our videos, please do not forget to subscribe and comment on the videos. We do everything to prepare better quality content for you. Don't spare your support. That big tank explosion video that will put your mind at ease. The Russian vehicle was attacked by a Ukrainian tank while it was moving. The injured soldiers on the vehicle jumped out of the vehicle in panic. They wanted to take the wounded soldiers to the wooded area and treat them. Do you think the wounded soldier should be opened fire on? Straight into the hatch. A drone of the 53rd Brigade neutralizes a Russian tank. Didn't make it to Berlin. FPV from the 117th Separate Mechanized Brigade destroys the supercam of the Russians in the Zaporizhzhia direction. Three tanks that set out to fight the Ukrainian army were attacked by FPV drones before they even started the war. 2 tanks were completely destroyed. Wounded soldiers hid. The anti-tank missile platoon of the 66th Separate Motorized Brigade destroyed 25 Russian tanks in 4 days in the Lyman direction. Among them, there's T-90 tank. The Security Service of Ukraine dealt a powerful blow with a kamikaze drone to the Russian MTLB. Another tank destroyed by an FPV drone. The Shadow unit struck a Russian T-72B3 with a kamikaze drone from your side, after which it caught fire and exploded due to the ammunition detonation. Once again, a drone kamikaze from the M2 group strikes Russian armored vehicles with infantry on top. The invader's tank was discovered by GPSU air scouts near the contact line, after which FPV drone operators disabled it. The case was successfully completed by night bombers. Russian convoy was followed for a long time by Ukrainian FPV drones. As soon as the war started, the drones launched a sudden attack. Surprised by what had happened, the Russian troops dispersed left and right. It was easier to hunt the dispersed convoy, and 10 Russian tanks were destroyed. Destruction of a Russian Buk M3 air defense system by a kamikaze drone strike. Successful attempt by the Russian Turtle tank to drive through a minefield in the Lyman direction. The driver of the Turtle tank and the other soldiers are very brave. Would you have the courage to pass through this minefield, or would you run away when the first mine exploded? Fighters of the Steel Border accurately and enchantingly deliver explosive gifts to the invaders. Border Guards air scouts conducted a night raid in the Zaporozhye direction and destroyed a 100mm MT-12 Rapira anti-tank gun. The 46th Air Assault Brigade repelled a large-scale mechanized attack by the Russians involving 52 armored vehicles in the Kharkiv direction. Just yesterday, the enemy made 24 breakthrough attempts in various directions, deploying a total of 52 pieces of equipment. The forces of the 46th Air Assault Brigade destroyed 8 tanks, 8 infantry fighting vehicles, 4 armored personnel carriers, an MTLB, a motorcycle, and damaged 4 additional infantry fighting vehicles. Additionally, 72 Russian soldiers were eliminated. Border Guards of the Revenge Brigade from the Rubpak Phoenix unit destroy the invaders in the Luhansk region, despite their attempts to escape on a motorcycle, car, or hide in the forest. Another shot of the enemy's recent attempt to break through the defense of the positions of the 79th Separate Airborne Assault Brigade in the Novomikhailivka area. The enemy used a significant number of tanks, BMP and MTLB with infantry, but the attack was stopped. National Guardsmen disabled a powerful radio communication tower of the Russian occupiers in the south of Ukraine. The tower was attacked by a kamikaze drone. Nice video from the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade. Great job, destroyed enemy, bright colors. The Ukrainian army is carrying out a major operation against the Russian convoy consisting of 7 vehicles. They destroy all vehicles one by one. Soldiers getting out of damaged vehicles are looking for a place to take cover. All vehicles were destroyed one by one. Mission complete. BPAK Operators 14. The 14th Regiment is working on an enemy tank column with FPV drones. Let's watch how this Ukrainian professional FPV drone pilot blows up the tank. The Shadow unit destroys a Russian T-90 in the Avdiivka direction. This soldier is a good basketball player. Elimination of Russian robotic platforms with automatic grenade launchers, AGS-17. Both were destroyed by FPV drones of the strike unit of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade on the Avdiivka direction. So far, these are isolated cases of the enemy using such technology. The Russian vehicle driving through the village was attacked by an FPV drone. The soldiers who got out of the damaged vehicle hid. There was a second attack on the vehicle, which caught fire. An old man living in the area came to the burning vehicle and wanted to say something. What do you think these vehicles are doing in the middle of the field? Ukraine's tank attack did not hit. This village may seem calm and innocent. However, there are many soldiers lurking inside the houses. Do you think the soldiers who were shot were Ukrainian or Russian? Write in the comments. Exactly 2 houses were blown up. Has released footage of several enemy military equipment and personnel losses in the Zaporizhzhia direction. The video shows just a few days' worth of work, during which friendly artillery units destroyed artillery installations, MLRS, enemy troops, specialized vehicles, and electronic warfare equipment. Write your comments about the video. It's very interesting how a tank can become like this with just an FPV drone. A Ukrainian drone clears mines from a road in Kursk. Write your thoughts in the comments. Wheelbarrow for pumping. Border Guard's UAV operators return the program to the air and pump FPV drones Russian auto industry in the Zaporozhye direction. In the final release, Border Guards also correct the point of observation of the invaders. Do you think Ukraine or Russia will win this war? A Russian BM-21 Grad was hit near the city of Gryvoron in the territory of the Belgorod region of Rutsia, 10 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, by the fighters of the RDK using a drone. Kyiv Post, with reference to the. This is what happened to some of the 500,000 eliminated Russians who came to murder Ukrainians and destroy the country. I want to comment on this video. What do you think this video can say? Write in the comments. How many FPV drone attacks must occur for a tank to blow up? I just don't understand this. It is declared as the destruction of another Russian TOS-1 Solntsepek in the Zaporozhye direction. Destruction of a column of Russian armed forces on the Kupiansk direction. 6 BMPs with infantry hit. Jewelry work of our soldiers of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade, who side by side together with the combat brothers of friendly units destroy the Russians in the Avdiivka direction. Great operation against the Great Russian Convoy. Ukrainian drones destroyed all the tanks and vehicles one by one, without mercy. These scenes will reassure some and anger others. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. The drone made a perfect shot into the tank. Basket. It has completely disappeared. Ukrainian flame drone destroys ammunition and first aid supplies hidden in the forest area by burning them. Do you think this drone is an effective weapon? This tank may be the luckiest tank to date. He was attacked by FPV drones many times, but he escaped from all of them with very small chances. It took little damage. Can you imagine what fear the soldiers in the tank experienced? This Russian tank got stuck in the ditch. Taking advantage of this situation, the FPV drone immediately attacked. The soldiers got out of the damaged tank, quickly ran away from the scene, and hid among the trees. Unfortunately, the soldiers, who thought they were escaping from the drones by hiding among the trees, still could not escape the attack. A Russian tank that opened fire on Ukrainian soldiers was attacked, and the tank was slightly damaged. Special Operation Forces of Ukraine, HIMARS destroyed Russian counter-battery radar Zoopark-1. The date and location are unknown, but it is not old. Ukrainian military repelled a Russian attack near the village of Krinky in the Kherson region using FPV drones. In this attack, a large Russian convoy was forced to retreat and half of it was destroyed. FPV drones are of great help to the Army as always. Would you like to be an FPV drone pilot, or have you ever used a drone before? Russian military tank convoy was attacked and destroyed one by Ukrainian FPV drones. Soldiers from slightly damaged tanks hid in forest areas to look for a safe haven. However, no matter where they fled, they still could not escape the artillery fire. Only in this one video, there are 8 military vehicles. One fell, it happens, not a big deal, we can laugh, but in Avdiivka, it's not funny right now. A HIMARS missile struck a group of Russian soldiers during an ammunition delivery for the MT-12 Rapora gun on the front lines in the Luhansk region. Another Russian Lancet kamikaze drone was shot down. What do you think about detonating kamikazes in the air? Operators BBS the 3rd Abhita Russian MTLB with a bunch of infantry with an FPV drone. The survived infantry are finished off with drones. Were these soldiers able to escape from the drones? Don't forget to write your thoughts in the comments. Drone operators from the 68th Jaeger Brigade dropped a grenade onto a pile of anti-tank mines, causing a powerful explosion. How can a grenade explode so big? A few more videos from the Avdiivka direction on, which show the movement of enemy convoys of vehicles and military units. Technically, he is on fire 53 OMBR. Another no-analog Russian T-90M breakthrough has evaporated, probably one of the most epic videos with this tank since the beginning of the war. New batch of destroyed occupiers' equipment in lane. Units of the 3rd Assault Brigade have crushed the enemy's armored vehicles, trucks, and cars in the brigade lane. The Russians' anti-drone defenses are proving ineffective against our drones and well-trained fighters. Undoubtedly, the most powerful tools of the new modern war are FPV drones. Because if you destroy one FPV drone, thousands more will follow. It is almost impossible for a person to escape from FPV drones. What do you think about FPV drones? Do you think tanks or drones are stronger? The Russian counter-battery radar Zu-1 meter was again destroyed. It is a counter-battery radar system developed by Almaz-Antey for the Soviet Armed Forces. It is a mobile, active, electronically scanned array radar for the acquisition of enemy field artillery. These 3 soldiers are very lucky, because if they had been 10 seconds late, maybe they wouldn't be alive right now. Russian intelligence communication vehicle was disabled as a result of 2 Ukrainian kamikaze attacks. As a result of this attack, the Russians were unable to communicate with their soldiers on the battlefield for a while. Russian intelligence vehicles are positioned in open areas. That's why they become easy targets. Ukrainian FPV drone pilots noticed these vehicles and launched an attack to destroy them. Even if the vehicles were not completely destroyed, they became unusable as a result of the attack. How did these 2 soldiers manage to get out of the blown-up Russian tank? Unbelievable! Unless death comes to a person, no matter what, he does not die. These Ukrainian FPV drone pilots, who have sworn to completely eliminate the Russian convoy, consisting of 7 tanks and vehicles, are destroying the vehicles one by one. Only 1 drone is enough for a huge vehicle. Spectacular footage of a Ukrainian FPV drone hitting a field ammunition depot located under a destroyed tank. Mariinka direction. Epic frames of undermining the Russian BMP with a landing on the armor from the Battalion of Unmanned Systems, the 23rd Separate Rifle Battalion, Artillery and Intelligence of the 63rd Separate Mechanized Brigade. The destruction of the column of the Russian armored vehicles in the national direction. At the end, on the frames, you can consider Russian fireflies embraced by fire. Also about the effectiveness of FPV kamikaze in destroying Russian armored vehicles. Also about the effectiveness of FPV kamikaze in destroying Russian armored HIMARS struck the occupiers' headquarters near Kherson when a meeting was taking place. Thanks to a tip-off from the SBU, the meeting ended early. 8 officers were killed and 7 wounded. In the early morning hours, Ukrainian FPV drones raided the Russian tank. A Russian tank was destroyed in the successful operation. In the early hours of the morning, the first blood was shed. On the Avdiivka direction, suicide of a group of Russian infantry. Russians hid in a destroyed APC. The 47th Brigade rectified the situation and hit that APC with its filling.
Где целый? Поехали, поехали! Капонир, капонир! Давай, давай, давай!
Власне підтвердження нашого коригування. Ось цей тігр.
Хлопці, з поверненням! Слава Україні! Героям слава! Слава Україні! Героям слава! Слава Україні! Героям слава!
FPV drones follow the Russian vehicle. After the first attack, they throw the dead soldier on the side of the road. Then the second attack is made. After the third and fourth attack, the vehicle becomes completely unusable. Soldiers are looking for a place to hide in the open field. HIMARS destroys two BM-27 Uragan along with the crew in the Zaporizhzhia direction. Another sortie of the Russian armored group in Avdiivka. Mines, ATGMs, FPV drones, at least 2 Russian BMPs and 2 tanks were lost. Enemy vehicles entering the area of responsibility of the 47th Brigade do not return. Is there any way to stop FPV drones? Do you think tanks are no longer useful on the battlefield? Will wars be fought only with unmanned aerial vehicles in the future? Destruction of the 9S-18M3 radar and the TZM transporter erector launcher of the BUK-M2 system. Counter-battery radar system Zoopark of the Russian Armed Forces has been destroyed. Ukrainian soldiers in a Humvee survived an intense artillery shelling and failed attack by a Russian kamikaze drone. One can imagine what the soldiers inside the vehicle were feeling. Russian truck wants to repair the broken bridge, but the FPV drone came to attack and the truck was destroyed. Another construction vehicle was also spotted among the trees, and the room was destroyed. The pickup vehicle that wanted to take gasoline and other items to the truck was blown up. HIMARS is striking with cluster munitions at a large concentration of Russians in Kursk region. These enemy units were gathering to prepare for assault actions on Ukrainian positions. Claim to show orcs surrendering in the Kursk region of Russia. Do you think these Russian soldiers acted as spies? Did they provide confidential information? Tankers. The 28th Brigade directly fired at the Russian command post with the UAV operators inside. Do you think that after all these tank attacks, those inside the building were able to escape from the building without any injuries? Pobeda Village, Pokrovsk direction. Rusians storm our positions with 27 units of equipment. The 33rd Mechanized Brigade successfully repelled the attack and destroyed 16 military vehicles and 60 Russians. Why do Russian tanks explode so easily? Are Ukrainian drones too strong or Russian tanks too weak? Write your thoughts in the comments. Is there any way to stop FPV drones? The third-generation Russian tank T-90 received minor damage. Do you think it was destroyed? The most powerful detonation. The Russian tank was blown up by a mine and was destroyed along with the crew as a result of the exact hit of the drone of shock drones of the 116th Brigade of the Armed. While the Russian tank was preparing to attack, it was attacked by an FPV drone. The soldiers who got off the tank were hunted down one by one. They came to rescue the wounded soldiers. They almost flew into the air, too. Artillery fire was fired at the back of the tank. However, he missed. Thinking he was saved, the Russian vehicle continued on its way. Soldiers who landed to check the damage to the vehicle were this time attacked by an FPV drone, and twice. The vehicle was destroyed. 2 Russian motorcycles are being followed by FPV drones. The first attack took place, but it was not accurate. However, one of the soldiers was injured due to the violence of the explosion. Or maybe he collapsed from fear. The soldiers changed engines and continued on their way. We do not strive for war. We wish you a peaceful and quiet life. We did not initiate contact, did not kill anyone. A pack of prisoners of war of Russian conscripts from the Kursk region.
Ладно, сколько убили людей наших солдат?
Мы не вступали в контакт. Мы никого не убивали.
Ты толстый, сколько завалил пацанов?
Срочно.
Ну что, срочники не убивают?
The MSC was struck by the latest Russian Kasta 2 E2 radar. The Gyatsint S Russian self-propelled artillery unit was destroyed near Petrovka in the Zaporizhia region. That's a wrap for the Russian BMP-3 with additional wooden protection. Damage to the occupier's tank using an FPV drone in the Luhansk region. Which do you think will be the most powerful weapon in the New World War? Aerial scouts of the Border Brigade, Garth, determined the location of the enemy. Air snipers destroyed fortifications, positions of enemy shooters and machine gunners from FPV drones, Volchansky direction. Border guards of the Garth Brigade destroyed the enemy's firing stronghold, places of shelter, Zhavusel, and warehouses with ammunition of the invaders. Bakhmut direction. Artillery and mortar fire on the invaders. Soldiers who got out of Russian vehicles were subjected to bomb attacks one after another in the forest area where they were safe. Soldiers of the Korn Group unit published a video of a powerful blow to a building with occupiers in the Kursk region of Russia. A more detailed video showing the destruction of the Russian remote mining complex Zembedeli near the same river in Kursk. Russia has rolled over and abandoned the T-80BVM of its armed forces. Another video of the operation of our tanks from Korn Group in the Zaporizhia direction. The Russians are working on the tanks with ATGMs and Lancets, but the crews persevered and continued the attack on the enemy's positions. Airstrikes on Russian positions on the eastern outskirts of Veseloye, Kursk region of Russia. A UAV strike company of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade is operating. An FPV drone hit a Russian armored personnel carrier in the Melitopol direction. Ukrainian forces repel Russian assault in Kharkiv region. A Russian military column advancing towards Ukrainian positions in the Kharkiv region was intercepted and destroyed by Ukrainian forces. The 3rd Assault Squadron's pilots spotted the column in time, allowing Ukrainian brigade units to respond swiftly. An immediate airstrike disabled an enemy tank, and as the remaining Russian forces attempted to retreat, additional strikes were launched. Even before further strikes, Russian infantry began to flee. Bradley at close range shoots BMP-2 in the positions of the Russian armed forces in the Avdiivka direction. The Russians are surrendered. Zaporizhzhia direction. A Russian tank opened fire on the other side. However, he was unaware that there were Ukrainian soldiers lying in wait to shoot him. Waiting for the right moment, the Ukrainian soldier launched the missile and blew up the Russian tank. When the other Russian tank saw his friend blown up, he immediately started running backwards. Do you think he was successful? Destruction of a rare ATGM Sturm SM based on the MTLB unit of the 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade using FPV drone effectively and efficiently struck the vehicle, completely destroying it. Russian Olympians break long and high jump records. That's how the invaders are climbing in the Avdiivka direction. The enemy does not stop storming there. A column of Russian equipment with infantry support tried to break through our lines, but did not reach the target and was destroyed. The 2nd Mechanized Battalion of the Presidential Brigade is holding back the enemy. The 110th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine continues to successfully destroy enemy equipment in the Zaporizhzhia region. The unsuccessful attacks of the Russian troops, with the participation of several units of armored vehicles in the Ugledar direction. Do you think Russian tanks are weak or Ukrainian FPV drones are very strong? I think about this all the time when I go to bed at night. Don't forget to write your thoughts in the comments. The counteroffensive of the armed forces is just beginning. The U.S. ambassador to the OSCE. Undoubtedly, Ukraine has the potential to achieve success, and if there is an opportunity, everything can develop quickly. We'll see how things play out over the next few months. The Ukrainian armed forces destroyed a warehouse of military equipment of the occupiers near the village of Myronivsky in Donetsk region. Another unsuccessful attempt to storm Ukrainian positions by the occupiers in the Tavria direction. The armed forces of Ukraine destroyed 6 tanks, 3 BMPs, and about 30 self-propelled guns. The driver of the KAMAZ 65225 tractor during the persecution was forced to make an emergency stop to save his miserable life. Rare radar station Kasta for 660 million was destroyed by military-controlled intelligence officers of the SBU and the Defense Forces. The commander of the Air Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine showed a blow to the control point of the Russians, who were on the ship. This is how the defeat of the elite Russian assault group of the 15th Separate Guards Brigade from the 47th OMBR looks like. Is it normal for a Russian tank to be blown up by a small bomb? Is the bomb strong or the tank weak? Border Guard's UAV operators targeted a disguised enemy car in the south of the country. This Russian soldier is one of the luckiest soldiers you will ever see in your life. Why? Watch the video and see. Out of desperation, the Russians began to camouflage their reconnaissance UAVs. They've hoped that it would become at least a little more difficult to intercept, but Signum mastered. Fantastic detonation of Russian BMP-3 as a result of FPV drone strike in the eastern direction. The M2A2 Bradley BMP saved its crew after 2 hits from a Kornet ATGM in the Donetsk region. Russians are being captured on the territory of the Kursk region. 501 BMP captures 2 Russians in the Kursk region of Russia. Location: Apanasovka, Kursk region. An airstrike by a JDAM guided bomb on the KSP and the communication point of the Russian army in the temporarily occupied village of Vasilivka in the Zaporizhzhia region. Ukrainian defenders defeat invaders in Luhansk. During the joint reconnaissance of the border guards and anti-tank officers' UAVs, the location of the enemy motor rifle unit was determined. Air intelligence transmitted the coordinates instantly. The fate of an enemy tank in 3 acts. 1. Come to the Donetsk region. 2. Interest border air reconnaissance. 3. Become a scrap metal.